You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
Uh,
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in this.
the human race survive?
Yes.
The nice thing about when you become a billionaire or you're worth $20 billion, you can start doing things that really matter to you. You can start leaning into your passion projects. And what Peter Thiel is really passionate about and interested in lately is the Antichrist. So much so that he's doing a 4-part series in a private event hall in Silicon Valley about the Antichrist. Here you go right here so you believe me. So yeah, Peter Thiel, 4-part series about the Antichrist that he's delivering in a private lecture hall in Silicon Valley. Now, this event is going to be sponsored, I believe, by the Acts 17 Foundation or the Acts 17 Collective, which is a nonprofit group that was started by Trey Stevens and his wife. Trey Stevens is the co-founder of Anduril, which is the sort of like when Silicon Valley got involved in the defense contracting sector, which now Palantir is the biggest defense contractor growth-wise of the last year. But Anduril, founded by Trey Stevens and Palmer Luckey. Palmer Luckey is the Oculus guy. And Anduril is the company that was talking about building a virtual border wall and with drones and tower sensors and everything. But the guy, Trey Stevens, he's around J.D. Vance's age. He's from Ohio, and he's supposedly very religious. Now, something interesting's happening with Silicon Valley where there's like this big surge towards Christianity and talking about Jesus and talking about the Antichrist. And I don't know if it's a Trojan horse or if it's a tactic to try to ease people's minds about what's coming up with AI and how there's this godlike creation with AI, or if it's so scary and unsettling what's to come, or so powerful that it's having a religious effect on these tech people who are, known to be atheists normally. But listen to some of the things Peter Thiel's been saying about the Antichrist. Now, people are taking this as of course he's talking about the Antichrist. He is the Antichrist. No, I don't think so. I think the Antichrist is supposed to be super charismatic and somebody that's loved and worshipped by all. So I don't think Peter Thiel is the Antichrist. But his fixation with this is what's fascinating.
So that in the time before Christ, there were many forerunners to Christ. In the time after Christ, there'll be many forerunners of the Antichrist. So in some sense, it's a type. So Nero was a type of the Antichrist, or maybe Napoleon was a type of the Antichrist. And it's sort of it's someone who aspires for world domination, to create, the creation of this sort of one world state. In some ways, Alexander the Great was sort of a pre-Christ prototype of the Antichrist. It's sort of parallel to Christ. They both die at 33. Alexander conquers the world. Christ saves it. So sort of a compare and contrast. So, but in some sense, the Antichrist as an idea is something that really comes into being in the world after Christ. And so there's there's a lot of things about it that are mysterious. In some ways, the Antichrist copies Christ. The Antichrist pretends to be greater than Christ, hyper-Christian, ultra-Christian, and then maybe only ultimately, deeply anti-Christian. You can think of it as a system, where maybe communism is a one-world system. So it can be an ideology or a system. And then of course, you can also think of it as Newman did, where it's sort of the final dictator of the one world state, where it's still expressed more as a person. But you can think of it as a type, a system, a person. How does a sort of world takeover actually happen? And it's kind of not a deus ex machina, but like a daemonium ex machina. It's like the Antichrist just gives these hypnotic speeches where nobody can remember a word, and then sort of just swindles people's souls out of them, and they submit to this totalitarian state or something like this. And I think if we were to speculate on how to solve that plot hole, we have an answer in the world after 1945. That people are in 1900, early 20th century, people were not yet scared of apocalyptic weapons. They could not imagine, anything of the scale that we'd have by the second half of the 20th century. And so the Antichrist takes over by talking about Armageddon.
So he obviously doesn't fit the mold of what he's describing. but he keeps talking about the Antichrist and what is necessary for the Antichrist to be present, and so the factors that are needed for it to be occurring, and the result that it will have. So when you talk about a highly charismatic person that just swoops in and swindles the entire population, you think about people like Trump, Obama, I guess you throw Hitler in there in terms of like hypnotizing a population. You think about Elon Musk. Just like I always try to think about people who are like too influential. But I got like 3 clips here. You got to see some of this stuff. Look at what he says right here.
An investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
So he's talking about the words submitting to peace and safety, okay? Submitting to peace and safety. Now, hold that thought in your head and just look at these projects of Palantir while you're thinking about that. So, submitting to peace and safety. Okay. Palantir's Gotham program. By the way, I'm going to show you this website because, I mean, it is a cool looking website. If there's one good thing I could say about Palantir is they have great graphic design. So this is Palantir's Gotham website, all right, or their Gotham feature. So the Gotham platform is for predictive surveillance and targeting, okay? It's a data fusion system that aggregates vast data from social media, financial records, to geolocation and biometrics to map relationships, predict the behaviors, and flag threats. It's been used by ICE for immigration enforcement, enabling preemptive arrests based on lone wolf profiles, and reportedly by the Israeli military for AI-assisted targeting in conflicts, including so-called targeted killings. The scary element is its role in pre-crime logic, where algorithms could label individuals as risks before any action, potentially enabling widespread unchecked monitoring of civilians. All right? That's one thing. Another one is the federal super database that Trump asked Palantir to create. So Palantir has been the highest performing stock of the year this year, and under partnerships with the Trump administration, Palantir is building a centralized super database, merging data from agencies like the DHS, HHS, IRS, and more, encompassing tax records, medical histories, immigration status, and even real-time biometrics. This could create comprehensive digital profiles on every U.S. citizen, fed into AI for anomaly detection and predictive enforcement. Concerns include its potential for weaponization, such as suppressing dissent or enabling de facto social credit system, with little oversight on data usage and sharing. Speaking of little oversight on data usage and sharing, I was so excited about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, but they didn't do shit. And I'll argue to the death with anybody that they didn't do shit. And people, like even Trump supporters, Elon supporters, still think they did a single useful thing. They didn't do anything. They cut less than $200 billion a year in waste. Guys, there's $200 billion per year that is spent accidentally. Look that up. Type in $200 billion per year sent to the wrong place by the US government. Like, all they did was cut contracts and fire some people. They didn't audit the Pentagon. They didn't audit the Department of Health and Human Services. But what they did do, DOGE, with its army of former Palantir employees under DOGE, I think it was at least a dozen of them that worked at Palantir, were working at DOGE, extracting all that government data, which is why they say data is the oil of the 21st century, because the AI consumes data like oil. Oil is what powers the new, data is what's going to power the new economy. Oil built the world that we live in today. Data is going to build the world that we live in 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. And DOGE got the best data in the world. So the question is, was this a 4D chess move by Peter Thiel and Elon Musk? I mean, Trump obviously has, this is way over Trump's head. Trump doesn't even understand how a laptop works. He was shocked and impressed that Barron was able to turn a laptop that was turned off back on. So Trump doesn't know what the fuck's going on with this. But what is for certain is that DOGE didn't do anything in terms of eliminating government waste, but they got the most precious, valuable data in the world. And XAI, which is the parent company of X, has a partnership with Palantir. That happened shortly after this boondoggle of a DOGE promise. So they're cooking up something nasty with the Palantir and XAI, I think. And that's just the beginning of the stuff that Palantir's working on. They're also been working on Project Maven, which is the AI-powered warfare. Palantir contributes to the Department of Defense's Project Maven, an AI system that analyzes drone and satellite imagery to identify targets in real time, essentially automating battlefield decisions. Integrated with tools like Gotham, it could extend to autonomous drone swarms and predictive strikes, raising fears of AI-driven kill lists with minimal human input. Its application in NATO operations and conflicts, those like Gaza, amplifies worries about escalating global surveillance and lethal autonomy, where machines influence who lives and dies based on data patterns. Then you have Foundry. Palantir's Foundry platform, enhanced by its AI platform API, is being embedded in health systems like the UK NHS and potentially US agencies for real-time tracking of medical data, pandemics, and even organ viability. During COVID-19, it enabled mass data harvesting for AI training, sparking lawsuits over privacy breaches. The terrifying prospect is a future where AI preemptively flags health risks or enforces quarantines based on predictive models, blending biosecurity with surveillance in ways that could control the movement of access to services without consent. Then you have the Metropolis for predictive policing and social control. Metropolis extends Gotham's capabilities to urban environments, powering tools like in cities like New Orleans, Los Angeles, that scan for risk patterns using license plates, body cams, and social media. It has flagged people as potential criminals based on associations alone. So if you're hanging out with somebody who has a crime record, you are automatically flagged as potentially being a crime threat. Often without transparency or city council knowledge, the dystopian angle is its expansion into a broader control grid, potentially linking with digital IDs or CBDCs to restrict behaviors preemptively, turning everybody's everyday life into a monitored simulation where AI decides threats. These inventions underscore Palantir's shift towards AI that could not only observes but anticipates and acts often in opaque ways, while defenders argue they're vital for national security. The scale of the data integration and lack of accountability fuels fear of an all-seeing, unaccountable system, which is the definition of Palantir, by the way. The definition of Palantir, it's from Lord of the Rings. It's the all-seeing stone. Sees what's going on all the time. So, guys, I was putting a lot of energy into doing whatever I could to help Trump get elected the last 4 years, but he's less down in a lot of ways. I mean, we're still in a better situation than we were before, and than we would be if Kamala was in office, I believe. But deeply disappointed with what Trump's doing. And I think the best thing that we could all do right now is do everything possible to get insanely rich ourselves, me, you, everybody we know. And that's how we're going to have influence over these things. That if we don't want something, the more money that we have, the better off we're going to be and the more influence we're going to have. So I'm working my ass off to get rich in a lot of different ways. I think you guys should do the same thing. So with that said, there's scary stuff going on. The tech lords are taking over. They're putting the pedal to the metal. And this upcoming week, September 8th through 11th, we have the Vault Conference, which is the biggest, best business conference in the world. And if you want to learn how to get rich, basically, I would say go to the Vault Conference and put yourself around a bunch of people who are already rich. The cheapest tickets are $500, so probably cost you around $1,000 between flight, hotel, cheapest ticket for the Vault to get yourself there. But guys, like if you're in that mode where you're like, I just need to make something happen, I need to take drastic measures, I'm going to throw a Hail Mary, make something happen, get yourself over there, get the juices flowing. I mean, you could have a life-changing conversation or a life-changing idea based off interacting with somebody. So if you want to do that, if you want to put yourself in that position, if you want to put yourself in a room with, I think we're going to be about 10,000 entrepreneurs there at the Gaylord Hotel in Orlando, click on the link below. And I'll see you at the Vault. Thanks for watching, everybody. Much love. God bless. Stay positive.